So yeah, I'm Richard Paul. I'm from a company in Brighton called Propellernet. It's a digital marketing agency, so largely focused around SEO. I'm a PR consultant there myself, so apologies in advance. This talk's quite focused a lot around my experience kind of moving into PR and kind of my knowledge as a PR and how that's kind of helped me progress. But I've been lucky enough throughout my career to do some award-winning work and work with some interesting brands. So at the moment at Propellernet, I work with the likes of Evan Cycles, Youre, house. My mind's just gone blank. Sports shoes, Waitrose, some good brands, and then I'll move on to some of the roles I've had throughout my career. But it's been a good mix I've had. But kind of, I wanted to take a step back and think 9 years ago, I was this guy, the most tired-looking graduate in the world, posing for the cheesiest photo in the world. And I was kind of clueless about what I was doing. I actually went to uni and did a film and TV screenwriting role, so very different to a role in digital and a role in PR as well. But I came out of uni thinking, oh God, I'm not actually going to be an Oscar-winning screenwriter anytime soon. I need a job that's going to pay the bills. And still stay in something that's creative, and PR and marketing is a great way that you can still tell stories, still do some exciting work, and still kind of you can do video-based things and film-based things as well. So an interesting route to go down, but at the same time a guy who didn't really know what he was doing and how to go about getting into that. So I definitely made some mistakes in my career, and some things if I did it again I'll do differently. So I've just put together some of my main thoughts on that, and hopefully a lot of them you might already know, but some of them, at least one, hopefully it will help you out. So the first one is don't be afraid of being yourself. So when I started out, and obviously when you're applying for jobs and you're kind of doing the scattergun approach where you're just trying to apply for everything, and you read online what your cover letter should look like or what your CV should look like, you kind of hit websites that are almost like a one-size-fits-all, and that could be talking to someone who's applying for an accountancy role, for instance, which is very different to a role in digital. And what I was doing, I was being very formal about how I was talking to people. And throughout my role in PR, and as I've grown and I apply for different jobs now, it is really about being yourself. You're talking to someone who lives a general day-to-day life, and they're getting lots of job applications that are potentially very formal as well. So it's really about putting yourself out there, showing your quirks and being vulnerable. So in PR, we obviously pitch to journalists to try and get them to cover a story. It's very similar in a way. In terms of applying for a job, you're applying for a job to try and sell yourself, so they then at least offer you in for an interview. And a great way, and one of the best learnings I've had throughout my career in PR, is to show those quirks and be vulnerable in doing so. Like put yourself out there, and do a bit of research on the person as well, and genuinely speak to the person that you're getting in touch with. Obviously, with the likes of social media and things like that, we can do a little bit of stalking. It's a bit weird, but it's definitely worth doing, especially once you hit that interview stage. If you find out, I had it in my experience, I found out the person interviewing me liked Harry Potter. There came to be a good opportunity in that interview where I could mention Harry Potter, and it's like, oh my God, you like Harry Potter too. Like, it can really work for you. So, and the same again in terms of when you're emailing over your CV and you're putting that cover letter together, like, it's not just about researching the person, but researching the company you're getting in touch with as well. I've had to hire for roles at some points in my career, and you can really tell if someone knows the company they're talking to and the job they're applying for, or if it is just a copy and paste job where you're sending out lots and lots of applications, and it really does make the difference. There's an example here which I thought was absolutely perfect in showing that. I'm not expecting you to read all of that, but it's by a writer of Vice called Ubar Butler. He's the guy that did The Shed at Dulwich. If you know that story, he got his shed in his back garden to rank #1 on TripAdvisor for restaurants in London. So he's a guy and he's won lots of awards now. He's a guy doing very well for Vice. But this is his first email pitch, which got him his first job for Vice. So his idea was finding out if music is harder to sell than Jehovah. So quite an interesting idea. But also kind of in the body of that email, he's talking specifically to Vice. He knows their kind of tone of voice and their style. And he's really putting himself out there in terms of telling some jokes. He uses a couple of swear words. I've got a quote here where this is what he would ask a Jehovah, basically. But it's not saying that you should use swear words or tell loads of jokes in your covering letters, but it's just a great example of someone who is talking to the exact publication that he wants to get in. This person who is on the other end receiving those emails, that person probably gets 100, 200 a week of people wanting to write for Vice, they're a big publication. A lot of people would love to write for them. And then this one stood out, obviously, because he has been himself, basically, and put himself out there. And it's worth a heck of a lot in terms of when you're both applying for jobs and in the interview stage as well. It's not being worried about, I feel I should be really formal. It's much better, especially in a digital world, and if it's a creative role, that you should be being yourself and talking how you usually would, and trying to connect on a better level with the person hiring for a role, basically. And following on from that is, remember, you're more than a degree. So I know a lot of you now might be graduates or you have a degree yourself. And definitely when I left uni and when I was applying, I was using language like this. So starting my kind of email to them saying, "Hi, I'm a recent graduate of," which isn't a good idea, or "Hi, I have a degree in," which again isn't a good idea. Or, I didn't do this myself, but I've seen it before, people that head up their CV with their kind of what they've graduated in next to their name. Not a good idea again, because all those things do is tell the person you're getting in touch with, that's your main selling point. Oh, I'm a graduate, and that is what you really put your worth on. But if you think about it, and even if you have just graduated, you're someone still with experience, and it's just whether you did a bit of freelancing while you're at uni, or you did something with a student paper if you're a writer or something like that. If you really think about it, you have got experience, and just using terminology like that rather than leading with "I'm a graduate" in something, it speaks for so much more. And at the same time, you've got to think that at the end of the day, a lot of people in the world now have degrees. It's maybe 50 years ago or something that really would set you apart because less people had degrees, but now it's quite a common thing. So you need to think of something and your experience that is going to set you apart from that, from your CV, and later on in your covering letter. You can talk about your degree, but it's something that I wouldn't lead with, and definitely when I was starting out and trying to find roles, taking that out of the start is something it definitely really helped in me finding a role, basically. Also, show, don't tell. So when you're applying for jobs, is if you've got experience and if you've got work you want to talk about, is show them that. I've used an example here. Obviously, I'm a PR consultant. This is a recent story I worked on, which I managed to get this in the BBC, which I was very happy about. But again, like using an image and putting links, that's a link to more images, basically, if a journalist wanted to see that. But it's the same for when you're applying for jobs. If you don't just want to say, "I've done this and that." If you make videos, for instance, putting links into those videos, or if you're a photographer, putting those photographs in, or anything to really help that do the talking for you, counts for such a lot. And just, it goes a lot further than them having to dig around for it themselves. If you show them it does that work for you, basically. So where to start? So you've nailed your CV and you're doing all of those right things and you're applying for jobs, but where do you actually start? This again is going from my own personal experience, so I know it might be different in the type of job role you have, but kind of looking at marketing in particular, because like I said, I did film and TV script writing. I didn't know I ended up wanting to be a PR. I'd say a marketing executive role is a very good place to start, especially if you don't know exactly what you want to do, because the great thing about those jobs is it's not such a niche. It's not like you're going to be a PR consultant to work solely on PR. Generally speaking, marketing exec roles have you doing a bit of PPC, have you doing a bit of email marketing, PR as well. So it's a great opportunity to learn where you want to go. In my first role in Brighton, I was a marketing exec, and that's when I started to move towards PR. One of my good friends now in that same role, he started in the very same role as me, and is now 8 years into a email marketing career. So it's a great place to start and kind of work out where you want to go, really. Again, along with that, an agency isn't a must. I come across a few people early in their digital careers and they feel like, on the marketing side of things, you've got to work for an agency, and an agency is the be-all and end-all. It's where you get your knowledge, and it looks so good for your CV. I started in an in-house role. Obviously, I work for an agency now, but it's really good to start in-house. It's similar to a marketing exec role. You've got more freedom to explore new things. At an agency, you are kind of siloed in what you're doing. Me doing PR, it's not like I can move across and do some PPC. Like working for an agency, you're working on what you're working on. Working in-house, you've got this time to kind of discover what you like most, and it's really good early on in a marketing career to do that. Also, as a plus, in-house, if you really like a certain industry, it goes without saying that you'd be working in that industry if you're in-house. But a plus about an agency is that obviously you might be working on various things, and it's good for that difference. But I definitely wouldn't think, I need to work at an agency, I only apply for agencies. It's definitely good to look in-house as well. Another thing I learned throughout my 9 years working in digital is a bad job, especially a bad job early on, can end up being a good job later on. So I've been unfortunate enough, but it's ended up good, to have a couple of bad jobs. So the first one, it was my very first job leaving uni, and it was a writing job at a company that ended up being a scam. It was basically writing editorial pieces for newspapers that didn't actually exist. So they sold, it was advertorial, sorry. They sold adverts, I would write these adverts. The newspapers didn't actually exist, and they were doing this to lots of charities. So when I found out, it was horrible. It was my first job from uni, and it was a really bad experience. But now, kind of further down the line, you have that benchmark of what a bad job actually is, so you kind of know what that is. And it did, in a way, I mean, I dressed it up on my CV and made it wasn't a scam to anyone hiring me, and helped me get further jobs. And then that other one is a job I had more recently. I was working for a betting company, and it was just a really bad company culture. I only spent about 5 months there, but kind of moving forward from it, it did a lot for my CV, that piece of work I did there. Got a lot of coverage. It did really well, and it's something I'll still use today if I was going for another job. So at the time, if you're in a bad job and it's horrible, just know that you will get out of that job, and two, that it will come worth it in the end, whether it's for your CV or just having a benchmark of what a bad job is. You can get out of it, and it will come good in the end, basically. Another thing is I'm not a Brightonian myself, is that you're absolutely blessed with Brighton. I'm from a little town called Rugby, and the only thing we have is the cement works, so it's not a lot of fun there. But in Brighton, you've got the likes of Pride, Brighton SEO, the Fringe, heaps to do. And if you've just graduated uni and you're still looking for a job, and you are a photographer, videographer, or a budding writer or anything like that, these offer great opportunities for that. Brighton SEO more for learning, but in terms of trying to put some experience on your CV or some experience on your covering letter, why can't you go out and film parts of Brighton Pride, something that's such a kind of really vibrant event, and edit that together? Then you've got a working show reel then, to show people. And Fringe, I mean, they need as many hands as possible, so there's always volunteering opportunities, or just going to see some of the stuff and kind of help you out and help you learn, really. There's a lot in Brighton, and it's all about making the most of that, really. And my final learning is just say yes. Say yes to things. I mean, if I didn't say yes, I wouldn't have done a lot of things. I wouldn't be here right now. I'm someone who gets very nervous about public speaking. And if I would have said no, I'd just be sat at home right now. I wouldn't be doing a lot. It's great to kind of put yourself out there and say yes to things and do as much as you can. I think it's one of the greatest things you can do, because it's all about growing, and it's all about adding experience. I don't know if I'll go on to do more public speaking, but it's a great thing to try, and it's a great thing to do. And basically just say yes to things and do as much as you can. Just to recap, for me, it's about being yourself, knowing the people you're talking to. If you're just a recent graduate, talk beyond your degree. It really does count that you've got that degree, but experience counts for a heck of a lot in the eyes of someone hiring for a role as well. Show them what you've done, don't just tell them. Know that a bad job will come good at some point. start in the right place for you, so it isn't all about agencies, or it doesn't have to be a set role. There's ways you can start working and make it come good in the end. Use Brighton and say yes to things, basically, and it should be good. That's me. Yeah, feel free to send me an email if you've got any questions or anything like that. But thank you for your time.